Hello students, and welcome to this video on the explanation of the additional question that was provided. I want us to start with question 1. This is a question that covers your appropriation account and also your statement of changes in equity. The question says that there are two partners, C Practice and K Perfect, and they provide you with a list of balances there. You will find that they have capitals, current accounts, they have some drawings, they have some receivables, payables, and they have a bank that is a credit account. There's a provision for credit losses, there's some accrued interest, stationery that is still on hand, inventory that's still on hand, and then a repayment on the current account and the net income for the year. If you turn your page, you will find that they have provided you with some additional information. Note number 1 says that a further 400 Rand must be written off as the accounts receivable will not pay, and then your provision must be maintained at 5% of the accounts receivable balance. In number 2, they provide you with information around the agreement of the partnership, and they tell you that interest on capital is 10%, interest on opening balances of the current account is 12%, and they remind you that C Practice repaid 5,000 Rand of the outstanding current account. Interest on drawings is charged, and they have already calculated the interest on the drawings for you as 1,000 Rand and 400 Rand. Then in number D, they tell you that the partners are entitled to a salary of 30,000 and that Mr. Perfect has already withdrawn half of his salary for the year, which should be 15. But now they tell you that it was included as an administrative expense, which is incorrect because we need to apply the principle of entity and say that the partners who are the owners, their information may not be included in the statement of profit and loss. Then furthermore, in number E, there was a bonus of 7,000 Rand paid to Practice, and then F tells you that they share their profits and losses in the ratio to their capitals. Number A says you need to do the adjusted profit. Number B says that you need to complete the statement of changes in equity. Right, so let's start. I've opened up a Excel page here on which I will be explaining the calculations. And the first one asks you to calculate the correct profit. So we must keep in mind that before we can do that, we need to calculate the provision because there was some additional bad debts that had been written off. So that calculation is done in a fixed format. You start with the debtors that are given, and they have given you debtors or receivables worth 40,000. Then there was some additional bad debts, and the additional bad debts was given to you in note number 1 as 400 that I will deduct. That will give you a subtotal of 39,600 Rand. At this point, you will multiply by the rate of the provision, which was 5%, which will give you what the provision should be, and that is a total of 1918. The existing provision that was provided to you is deducted, and that was minus 2,000, which gives you an adjustment of minus 20 Rand. So the final adjustment is then a negative 20 Rand. My bad debts will then be the 400 Rand that I had to write off as the additional debts, and I will then minus from that my adjustments, which means it should give me a total of 380 Rand. I need to correct my profit, so I start with my profit given. The profit given was a total of 270,000. Then there were some bad debts that had to be written off. It's an expense, so I will deduct it. And then we had the error where the partner's salary was included in the administrative expenses. They tell us in the question that it was 30,000, but that only half of it was paid and included in salaries. So there I will say it is then 30,000 divided by 2. That gives me an answer of 15,000. You will observe that I add the salary. Previously, the salary would have been deducted as an expense, but that was incorrect. So now I do the opposite calculation to cancel it out to get to an effect of 0. My corrected profit answer is then the sum total of my calculations that I have done and I get to a corrected profit of 2846.20. If you are able to calculate this, then you already have a total of 5 marks. In the second part, they ask you to complete the statement of changes in equity. So that would be number B. So please note that they always ask just the statement of changes in equity, but it cannot be done without the supporting calculation of appropriation. So I start with my calculation for appropriation. And there they have given me the profit, but I have adjusted the profit, so I need to start with the corrected profit. And that will be equal to my answer in A. Thereafter, I need to go and determine all the payments that were due to the partners. The first was the interest on capital, and we have two partners. We have Practice, I will call him PR, and then Perfect, PE. So there I will then go to their capitals. The rule says that it is 10%, I believe, in note number A, 10% on fixed capital, so I will go to the capital account. I observe that it's 150 and 20,000 Rand respectively. So 200,000, I beg your pardon. So it's 150 times the 10% and 200 times the 10%. Pretty straightforward calculation there. So the answer is 15,000 and 20,000. We need to ask ourselves the perspective from which we are working. If I'm busy with a calculation for appropriation, I'm busy with the business perspective. So if the partners earned interest on their capital, I am going to deduct the values from my business profit because the business has lesser money when the partners earn interest. The next calculation that had to be done was the interest on the current accounts. And again, there are two partners, so I repeat the calculation twice. And here we need to be careful because they're trying to catch you out. You will observe that one of the balances are negative. So for the current account, there's a negative balance for Practice, but a positive balance for Perfect. So if it's a negative balance, Practice will pay while Perfect will earn. Please remember that. So it's 10 and 20,000. So for the first one, I'm going to say 10,000 at 12%. For the second one, I will say it's 12,000, right? 20,000. Sorry, 20,000 at 12%. So I get to an answer there of 1,200 and 2,400. Then I need to remember this was a negative balance, so therefore the business will earn the 1,200, but this was a positive balance, so therefore they will have to pay the interest on the current account to the partner. The other account was the interest on the drawings. That's quite an easy one since they have given you the values, number one. And number two, the interest on drawings will always be a positive because the business receives it. So from the appropriation perspective, it's a positive. So I'm going to take the values that they've given me and I'm going to add it because that's amounts that they pay in. Then the salaries, this is actually, with regards to the salaries, I think this is quite an interesting question because now they have told you that only a portion was taken or received already. So you need to keep in mind, when they give you the salaries, you use the salary that the partner was entitled to, not the portion that he had withdrawn. So if I look at the question, they tell me in the additional information that the partners are entitled to a salary, so they may take a salary of 30,000 Rand. So we look at the entitlement, not the amount that was necessarily paid. Therefore, I'm going to say the salaries is then minus 30,000 and minus 30,000. From the business perspective, this is a cost to the business. After that, I believe there was also a bonus to, is it Practice, I think? And he got 7,000 Rand, so I'm just going to deduct the 7,000 there because it is a payment, it is a cost to my business. I need to get to a subtotal, so I'm going to just get the sum of all my calculations that I've done so far, and There, my sum total is 182820. What is left for me to do is share the profit. So there will be a share in profit for practice and a share in profit for perfect. Now we need to use the capital accounts as the ratio. So the capital accounts was basically 150 to 200. So if I take that ratio, it's 150 to 200, and if I simplify it, it is 3 to 4, which is a total of 7. So for the share in profit, I'm going to say for practice, he's going to get of the subtotal that is left, he's going to get 3 out of 7, and perfect will get of the subtotal that remains, he will get 4 out of 7. So if I do that calculation, I get answers with decimals. Please don't think that you are wrong when you get decimal answers. And I'm just going to round them to the nearest full rand. So there I've done my appropriation calculation. There's a lot of marks just in performing this calculation. The next step is that I need to complete my statement of changes in equity. Students tend to forget about this, so please write a proper heading. There might be a mark for it, and you don't want to lose a Mahala mark. So make sure that you do write a proper heading. So I'm going to say it is practice and perfect partnership. And I am then going to say it is the statement of change in equity. And I'm going to say it is for the year ended, and I see in the question the year ended 31st of March 2017. My layout, very important to know. I need to have capitals and current account, so there I just merge to say capital. And with regards to capital, I have a one for practice, one for perfect. Then I need some current accounts. So then I'm going to say current accounts. There I need for practice and for perfect. And then I have my appropriation account and my total. Appropriation and of course then a total. Downward I start with opening balance, and then I can use my information in my appropriation calculation for guidance. So I'm going to start with the profit for the year. I am going to have interest on capital. Woo. I'm going to have interest on the current accounts. I'm going to have interest on drawings. I am going to have salaries. A bonus. I need to scroll up. I'm going to have a bonus. And then please don't forget the drawings. And in this question there was actually a repayment that was done, and there we need a closing balance. The opening balances of the capitals were given to me. It was 150,000 and 200,000. For the current accounts, it was negative 10 and positive 20. The appropriation is always 0. The profit for the year goes to appropriation, and I need to use the corrected profit. So I use the value with what I started my appropriation calculation. Then I need to calculate the interest on capitals. So with regards to that, we said it was 15,000 and 20,000. For the partners, it's positive, but the business pays it. So to the business, it's a negative 35,000. The interest on current accounts, the balance was negative for practice, so it's minus 1,200 for him, but it was positive for 2,400 because he had a positive balance. The total will then be that the business paid 2,400 but earned 1,200, which gives us minus 1,200 in appropriation. The interest on drawings, it's a negative because they paid it, so it's minus 1,000 for the partners, minus 400, but for the business, they get a positive 1,400 Rand. The salaries of 30,000 Rand, again, the amount that what they were entitled to is included here, 30,000, but for the business, it's a negative 60,000. The bonus was received by practice. For him, it's positive. For the business, it's negative because it's a payment. Then the drawings, the balances of the drawings were given to me as 60,000 and 50,000. So there's the 60,000 for practice, but for perfect, we need to be careful. In the question, they tell us that they had a error here, so half of it was an error that they put in administrative salaries. It should not have been in administrative salaries, but rather in drawings. So here we need to increase the drawings by 15,000 because it was not an expense, it was a drawing. So I'm going to say he will then have minus the 50,000 that was given as a balance there, and plus an additional 15,000, which was the salary that he withdrew. And there's no effect on the appropriation. Then with regards to the repayment, they said 5,000 Rand was repaid to the business by C Practice. So for that purposes, we will say for practice, we will increase his current account by 5,000 Rand. If there's a repayment, ladies and gents, you debit the bank of the business and you will credit the current account of the partner who makes the repayment. So you will see if I credit it, it must increase then by 5,000. Just a quick side note there. So I need to go to my closing balances. I'm just going to use the sum function. I'm going to add everything up. And also then for the total column here, I need to add everything horizontally to get to my final balances. And there we go. We forgot about the profit share here, I see now. I just want to type that in as well. The profit share was calculated, and for current, I believe we calculated it as, for the current account of practice, we calculated it as 878351, and we calculated it for perfect as 104469. For the business, that's negative 182820, and therefore you will see that the appropriation account must have a balance of 0. I'm just going to put it in a proper block, and I'm going to save this answer. So I hope that this video has helped you a bit to understand the statement of changes in equity. I think this is really an easy question. It was a total of 35 marks. So if you can do this, you have 35 marks. I think it's pretty fair. Thank you for watching, and please stop by my office if you have any further questions. Bye-bye.